Welcome, welcome, hello, hello, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the rAVe Esports Show. My name is Bubba Gaeddert. I am your host today. Man, I'm super excited. If you have been watching along on social media this last week, we announced this show that's going to be so much fun the first and third Thursdays of the month. Going forward, I'm super honored and excited that I am able to partner with the rAVe Agency and rAVe Pubs. We've got a great show today. A really huge shout out to our sponsors for the show is Extron and Neutra Group. Thank you so much for your support, which, if you don't know, this show also supports the Video Games and Esports Foundation, the foundation that I get to run and get to support students from all over the country, North America, anywhere, support them with grants and scholarships, because video games and esports is the fun stuff that I get to do every day. Now, this show is really designed to help those in the audio video industry, gaming, esports, tech, to support you guys, to give you the opportunities and the information and the education to go out to schools and universities and businesses and help them with esport labs, audio video tech, anything you can think of when it comes to gaming and esports in facilities. Like I said, the Video Games and Esports Foundation is the charity that we're supporting. You can type VEF in the chat, !VEF, and you'll get a link to be able to donate. Here's a quick little blurb about us. You can also use !charity. Thank you once again. We're here. We want to support the industry, the audiovisual industry. And if you have questions about esports and gaming, please drop them in the chat. We will look for those answers. We'll answer those questions today in the chat. We've got it all set up. So if you need to ask questions about anything related to esports and gaming, we're here for you. We're going to bring in a guest here shortly, and then we're also going to go over our VDF, Video Games and Esports Foundation research deck that has a lot of great information for you today throughout the show. And I'm super excited because we've got a fun guest coming today that I'll mention, which if you haven't seen it. But I do want to say the question for this first segment is esports, gaming. How do you write it? How do you type it? I want to get the audience's opinion on how you write esports correctly in a sentence or in a title. So if you're in the chat, feel free to type out the correct spelling and the writing version of esports in the chat. But I'm going to bring in my amazing guest today, Mr. Gary K. How are you, sir?
I am so excited. I'm honored to be here, and I'm very excited that this first show has finally come to fruition. It's something we've been planning for over 6 months. We've been talking about the esports industry for about 6 years now, believe it or not. I went back and looked about the first time I started writing about it. And I'm just honored that you're part of our team to bring this to the industry twice a month. This is going to be a show that we're going to do every Thursday at noon. I should say first and second Thursday of the month.
First and third.
So twice a month. We've already got half the year planned out, but we're still taking requests. If you're an expert in esports and you're interested in the esports industry and you've got something to contribute, you've done an esports venue, whether it be in a student union or a classroom or an arena, reach out to me, reach out to Bubba and say, I want to be a guest. I want to show off what I've done. We want to do a show where we talk about case studies and some of the venues that you've done. We put an esports venue in at the University of North Carolina. We'll show you that later on in the year as we go through this. But Bubba, you're awesome, man. You are the guy, and I'm really excited about today's show because you're going to share data, like actual data on what's going on in esports, how big the industry is, what the opportunities are, and I do know the answer to the question on how you write it because you corrected me.
Well, we in the industry try our best to educate on those things, and what I've known and what I've seen is the esports and gaming industry, we're just picky and entitled. We have to have it a certain way. I don't know what it is. And we decided let's follow the APA standards. And if you're in the chat, go ahead and feel free to type in the correct way to actually write out esports. And so give me the definition. What is the way to do it, Gary?
Well, are you asking me to answer the question, or are you just, well,
yeah.
the way you told me is capital E small sports instead of the opposite way, which is the way I was writing it in all my articles, small E big S. You said capital E small sports is the proper way to type it. I hope I remembered that correctly. Am I right?
Let's see. Let me pull up the part of the deck we're going to look at today, right here, and I'll pull that up. So the how to write esports correctly is capital E sports or all lowercase. Now the reason you see it capital in those bottom two right ones is because it's a title, and that's the only place you would really use that besides the front of a sentence. So you got it. Way to go. And if you're in the chat and you're saying the same thing, nice job. And we're going to cover a lot of that today, but Gary, I want to jump into while you're here a little bit about what rAVe pubs and rAVe agency and rAVe, there's a lot of rAVe stuffs. Can you walk me through all that?
Yeah, so the rAVe agency is the umbrella organization, and we're basically three different groups.
Okay.
We are rAVe pubs, so we own a channel of publications, and there's 11 different publications right now, soon to be 12, that cover different vertical markets. Digital signage is an example. Higher education is an example. House of worship is an example. So we cover different vertical markets and industries: commercial AV, residential AV, and then the middle part is we're a creative agency that helps a bunch of brands. I mean, we've helped a lot of big brands out there, companies like Zoom and Sony and Epson and Legrand and a bunch of different companies out there that needed marketing help. But we've also helped the integrators market their products and companies better. So we do a lot of stuff like that. We do social media marketing. We help a bunch of associations with that kind of stuff. We do PR. We have a PR agency called Storytelling. And then the third division is Launch, which is our hybrid and virtual events platform, which is used to host lots of events. So I'm sure we're going to do an esports tournament at some point in time. We'll use Launch to do that. But
and
that's a little bit about us. And the reason why
the A and the V is also capitalized in rAVe, and it's also in Launch. It's spelled different.
Our Launch is all caps, LAVNCH. But our heritage is AV, audiovisual, and that's where we came from. And the reason why we're doing this is we want to help the AV industry get into esports. The data's, it's esports is such an industry that covers such a wide gamut of gaming, right? That AV is probably part of about 3 to 5% of the total esports market, but easily could be 25%. Companies like Epic Games that do Fortnite tournaments, they run them themselves, but they could be using an AV company to help grow that. For example, there's not a single university in the United States, at least, that isn't looking at integrating esports for two reasons. Number one is the NCAA is supporting esports Division I scholarship teams, and there's about 20 to 25 universities that have that for women's sport, for women esports gamers, and they'll add men as well eventually. And then number two, it is another way to get the student body interested in something that is in between athletics and academics, right? I mean, esports in somewhere around 600 or 700 colleges around campus have either club or esports teams of some type, right? Some like USC, in Southern California, they have 2 or 3 esports teams that are actually really competitive. UC Irvine has got probably one of the best esports teams in the country. So we want to help universities. We want to help the AV industry help universities get into esports because this is a big market. The other thing, Bubba, is
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people may not know this, and I hope that you'll talk about it eventually on your show, is that the International Olympic Committee just 2 weeks ago said we're going to make esports an actual Olympic sport. That's going to, that's going to create growth all over the place, because one area that has not grown very much in esports has been Europe, and that's because they don't have team sports at universities. But when it becomes any sport has become an Olympic sport, like snowboarding as an example, one of the recent Olympic sports, when it became an Olympic sport, it all of a sudden grew in Europe, right? Europe kind of adopted that sport because it became an Olympic sport. Same thing's going to happen with esports. Asia's already been big in esports. I'm sure you'll share that data. The US has been big on it growing. During the pandemic, obviously everything kind of slowed down, but it's ramping back up rapidly right now. And like I said, if you've got relationships with the university, I guarantee you they're looking at esports. But if you're in Europe, it's not a big thing yet. But once the Olympics start hosting it, guarantee it'll be a big thing.
Love that. Now, when I think about what you guys are doing, and you're supporting the industry with all the different verticals in storytelling, in launch, in publications, how do you see your organization coming to the top, or this new, being the first, I guess, with this show? How do you see your organization, all the verticals you have, stepping up to support the esports and gaming industry?
Well, before going live today, I did some research and looked at all the publications in the industry and all the associations. And I, good thing is everything's online. And I looked and tried to find anyone who had been talking about esports before us. And I think we are the first. We're the first publication that talked about it. We're the first organization that really started making it a thing that we talked about. And it wasn't, it's not like we invented it. By far, we did not. In fact, the reason why we started talking about it was companies like AVI Systems started building systems around esports venues, and other integrators like that. But what we want to do is help everyone. We're all in this together. We just want to be a platform for anything esports. So anything that's going on in esports, we want to be a platform. We're going to be there to support, like, for example, Infocom. What they did at Infocom, Vixa did at Infocom this past year was awesome. Like they had an esports arena kind of thing, set up an esports booth that was designed by AVI Systems, and it was an actual working esports venue. And hats off to Rochelle for the vision at Vixa for putting that together at Infocom. And we want to help them. We want them to. We're going to have them on our show. We're going to have Brad Sousa from AVI to talk about it. We want to help promote that this will be back at Infocom 2024. We want to help be part of it. We'd love to have you as part of that at Infocom, or, we're going to support any way we can the industry's growth. We're going to put out educational pieces. Your deck's going to be available today. After you go through your deck, I guarantee you everyone who's watching is going to want your deck.
Well, I love that you guys are working to support the industry. And what's also fun, I know our partnership with the Video Games and Esports Foundation is how can we support scholarships or sponsorships for students to go to Infocom. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we part of our charge for this show is to donate back to your foundation, which has been supporting kids and schools and organizations to build esports teams all the way down to the high school level. And so we're going to support that, and we want to bring probably a dozen kids to Infocom who are esports gamers that otherwise probably wouldn't go to college, right? I mean, if it wasn't, in fact, interestingly enough, Vixa brought two HBCUs to Infocom, where the players who were on the team said they wouldn't have gone to college if it wasn't for those colleges. Talladega University, Talladega College as an example. The kids that were on that team, a lot of them said they wouldn't have gone to college if it wasn't for the fact that they had an esports team there. We will have them on as well as guests, but I can tell you that, we just see this as an opportunity to bring a bunch of new kids into our industry that wouldn't even know about our industry. We're doing the cool stuff. Like when you're sitting in the audience and you're watching all the flashy graphics and the LEDs and the display and the content, that's coming from our industry. And I think we just, we got to step it up and help the industry grow. Don't just be reactive. I think right now we're kind of reactive as a brand wants to do an event, or as a gaming company wants to do an event, we support it. But what we need to do is help create those events. And the way to do that is do what you're doing, Bubba, is to get down to the high school level, the kids in high school, and get those teams started on the high school level so that it grows exponentially.
Now, when we're talking about this show, and we've got some sponsors today, the Extron and Neutrik. Oh, I'm going to show some ads here shortly, but I'd love to hear what your experience with those organizations is or are, and tell me a little about those organizations before we show some ads.
Yeah, so I think everyone probably knows who these companies are, but you may not know this. I started my career at Extron, and Extron has the infrastructure for esports. They do the traditional digital media distribution through HDMI and whatever, HD-based, but they also do AV over IP distribution, which is primarily what's being used in esports venues because we're going over the network. So they have the whole infrastructure for that. We'll bring them on as a guest. I think maybe in a couple of weeks we'll have someone on from Extron who runs the esports program inside of Extron to talk about how they can help you get into esports, because they have a whole program as well, and they have a set of products specifically for esports. And then from Neutrik's standpoint, I mean, when you talk about the live events and connectivity and reliability and speed and security of these venues, Neutrik is what they do. I mean, they are a connector company. But they actually have an entire esports division that is focused on growing esports. But we have a few other sponsors coming here in the next few weeks that we'll announce. We're not ready to announce them yet. We wanted to kind of start out slow and grow as we go. But we're really, really excited that Extron and Neutrik jumped at the opportunity when we brought it to them. We haven't really talked to a lot of other brands out there. If you're a brand that you really feel like you can contribute, whether or not you want to be a sponsor or you want to be a guest, just contact me, because we'd love to have you on. 100%.
Well, Gary, this is great. Any last parting words about the show and maybe something to look forward to?
Break a leg. Bubba, I would say break a leg. I'm honored that you're part of our team now at rAVe. You're a rAVer. You'll be at InfoComm with us, so people will get a chance to meet you. But I hope people will check you out online. If they just Google you, they'll see how big you are in esports. You've been involved in esports for a long time. You've helped. You're probably the single person that has helped more kids evolve from basement gamers into esports gamers than any other person. You're humble, but you've actually been sort of like people have looked up to you, but also you've been a bellwether for sort of the direction the industry's going. So we're honored to have you part of that, and I appreciate you bringing me on for the first episode. This show is yours, so I have a show already, so I'm gonna let you take this show. I'll come on every once in a while when you need me, but otherwise I'll see you at InfoComm.
You have a good show, and Josh Kell is in the chat. Hopefully we'll have him on here in the future to talk about esports labs. Hey Josh, how are you? And with esports integration. And just to think of that, Gary, I mean, yeah, we've got a fun lineup. We're talking about AV, we're talking about esport labs, AV technologies, tech, some executives we're going to talk to, college esports, audio, virtual reality, metaverse, and the gaming landscape. We've got a fun lineup, and I'm so excited to get started, get rolling. And man, thank you so much for coming on for this first part of the segment.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and have a great show. I'm going to watch now. I'm going to be like a regular person and watch the show as you do the show. So thank you very much. And thanks to the team behind the scenes, Carrie and Anne-Marie and Emily 100%. And Kirsten and Josh, all the people behind the scenes that have made this come together in the company. Steph, I mean, there's so many people, Kelsey, that are all part of this. So it takes a team, and we have a great one.
Yep, you sure do. I'm happy to be a rAVer. Do I get glow sticks?
We're not that kind of rAVe.
Oh, okay.
But you might get a hat or socks. We got some stuff like that.
I'm
we'll
down.
Definitely give you some stuff.
I'm down. Okay. Well, thanks, Gary. Appreciate you, sir. Talk to you later.
Yep. All right. Take care.
Thank you guys so much once again. This has been fun. We're going to watch a quick advertisement about Extron and check out all the cool things they do within the industry. But I do want to say, big shout out, big thanks to Gary and his entire team once again. It is so much fun to be a part of this and be a part of a show that is going to just tackle things head first. So let's check out this ad from Extron. Extron. Great, exciting, so much fun. We are going to be actually diving in to this fun, well, for me as a huge gaming and esports nerd, and Josh, once again, hello, thanks. Everybody in chat, we are streaming on multiple platforms right now. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere close to, it's more than a dozen. I know that. And we are on the VEF's, the VEF's Twitter and YouTube, the Video Games and Esports Foundation. We're also on Kick. That's the newer streaming platform. That's the answer to Twitch, I think, somewhat. We're on LinkedIn, on my channel, as well as my Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and my YouTube. But we also get to stream all over rAVe stuff. We're all over their channels on everything. I don't even know what it is. There's multiple that's on their website and everywhere. So we are just having so much fun being able to be in many places at once. I feel like Santa right now because I'm just I have been actually, Josh, in the chat, you have called me Santa of esports. So thank you for that. I'm glad I got to throw that in today. But we're going to jump into this really great and exciting deck. If you want to go to vef.gg, you can check out this deck. It's on the homepage. And I've just spent 3 or 4 years just trying to gather everybody's information in one place. And it's not easy because here in the industry, we spend a lot of time trying to figure out the right answers because we're so segmented. The gaming and esports industry is segmented. And if you are out there right now and you're watching, drink some water because it's important. Drink a big water like I have. Hydrate. But when we get in this deck, I really want to just make sure that you know this deck is actually a lot of fun. You can download it. It's free to use. It is a Google Doc presentation, so it actually gets updated quite often. I'm always adding stuff to this. You can also watch a video here on the third page. You can watch the video of me presenting it, and it's a little older version, but I'm definitely getting to doing it. But this presentation is for everybody around gaming and esports. Students, families, educators, business, government. It is for everyone. And what's fun about this deck, if you want to use it, you can jump around to different parts of the deck and move around, and you can go places. So use your keyboard, whatever. Look, there's Josh Kell right there. Oh my gosh, how funny. But yeah, back to this slide here. We'll jump through. We've got these different opportunities here with the table contents. We'll be jumping into that. We're going to go through this pretty fairly quickly in about 25 to 30 minutes. But if you don't know what the Video Games and Esports Foundation is, we actually started out as the Varsity Esports Foundation back in 2018. We noticed there were all of these schools, high schools in North America, that were playing with the High School Esports League, and they were all in the suburbs. I had met Mason, the CEO and founder of the High School Esports League here in Kansas City, and I saw all these pin dots on their map. It was all in the suburbs. I was like, well, I worked at the YMCA for a long time. I worked with a lot of youth, a lot of families that are disenfranchised. How do we get access to these schools in the inner city and in the rural areas where access is difficult and the funds are not the same for esports and gaming clubs? Well, we created the foundation. So 2018, we sat down, we created the foundation. A year later, I left the sports industry, the traditional sports as I now call it, which is funny to call it traditional sports when everybody just calls it sports. And I became the executive director for the Video Games and Esports Foundation. We love what we do. I have so much fun doing it. It provides me the opportunity to come on shows like this and be supported by wonderful organizations like the rAVe Agency or rAVe Pubs. But yeah, we get to send out lots of scholarships. I'm sending out a bunch right now to high schools and college students all over the North America. Some go to schools in Canada. We've sent stuff to other places. As Gary said earlier, we don't have the traditional sport scholarship as you do here in the States, like in other parts of the world. So the scholarships are definitely needed here, and especially supporting those kids from Title I schools. And we're going to jump in. Let's jump in. What is esports? For those who are interested in learning more about this, and you don't quite understand everything, and you haven't watched one of these shows yet, or you haven't been listening, or you're new to the industry and whatnot, well, we're going to jump into it. We do have some online courses that we're actually redoing with the support of a great partner this next month. We'll be rolling out at the beginning of the year, not the school year, beginning of the year in January, with a whole new lineup of online video courses for free that people can take, because we want to help provide that education source. And it's just going to go along with a lot of this video content that you're watching now and today. We did cover this earlier, how not to write esports, how to write it correctly. We've got it there for your reference. And, what's the difference between esports, gaming, streaming? Well, we look at esports as competitive video game playing. Okay? Competitive video game playing. And gaming, you can look at amateur or recreational gaming. And then streaming may not even be gaming. I streamed on Twitch for 2 years doing artwork on Photoshop, and I didn't play a whole lot of games on there. But when you look at what the difference is between esports, gaming, and streaming, we have the data for you to let you know that there's a difference. And if you look at the bottom over here, every page has kind of data or graphics or information. There's only really one slide in here that is my opinion, based off of things. Everything else is pulled from sources from Pew and STWS and Entertainment Software Association. Those links are available. So when you go down there, you can click and that link pops up to that actual article about this topic. Well, is gaming still big? Well, yeah, there's 3.1 billion gamers in the world. This is 2022 data. We're hoping to get 2023 data soon. And there's 3.1 billion gamers. There's 8 billion people in the world, if you heard about that recently in the last year or two. So that's a lot of people who game. And a lot of those gamers are in Asia. Looks like 7% in North America. So it's not just this big thing happening only in America. 46% of US gamers, though, are actually female. And when we look at that, we actually have, I think my next slide here shows how many gamers there are in the United States, but 48%, I wrote 46, but it's actually fluctuating between 45 and 43 and 48 quite a bit in the past few years, and different surveys. But you would think, well, it's a lot of just teenage boys. No, teenagers is only 24% of the gamers. My age, I'm 41. I'm in that red bucket of 13%. I feel young, but the 36% is where you see the largest amount of gamers in the US, and that average age is 33 for gamers in the United States. And it's not a 16, 12-year-old who you lose to, like I did earlier today on Fortnite, because they were probably sick at home and they were playing Fortnite, whatever. Well, generationally, though, when we look at this stuff from the Video Games EFT nerd, we've got Gen Alpha, Gen Z, Millennials, Gen X, and Baby Boomers. It's just an extra breakdown of when we're talking about gaming, where that is. This is a fun graphic that just came out this year with Newzoo. So check that out. Newzoo is a great resource as well. Now, teens, though, 97% of teens play video games, 12 to 17-year-olds. This is a little bit older data, but it still rings true that almost all teenagers play video games, and that's male and female. And when we talk about video games, there's all sorts of ways that you can play video games. You can also have the ability to use adaptive controllers, like with Xbox. They have a really cool adaptive controller. I know the guys, Miguel and a couple other people who created this at Xbox and Microsoft years ago, and how this setup right here, there's just so many opportunities and options for you to be able to play adaptively. There's a really great streamer on TikTok and Twitch. I don't remember his name right now, but he plays with his mouth because I believe he's paraplegic, and he's one of the top gamers on Twitch. There's also some gamers who play with their mouth, with the controls in their mouth, that are esports champions. There's some stories here. It's in our videos on our website where we're talking about that, because inclusion is important. Little quick breakdown of video game history. You've got stuff from like 1955. You had wargaming, not the same thing we're talking about with Matthew Broderick, with the only winning move is not to play. That's right. But gaming was used back in the 50s for war game simulation. And as we go forward, Pong is a pretty popular game. A lot of people equate the first video game with Pong. I went to London this last month and gave a presentation on the history of video games from, and actually the history of video games started like in ancient Egypt times. I started there, and I got to the 1800s when Nintendo was actually making card games. That's right, Nintendo made card games, and they some of their card games were actually a love connection type game. But that was in the 1800s, and then really in the 30s when you see video games rise is with pinball machines, and then we saw LaGuardia, the mayor of New York, smashing pinball machines with a sledgehammer. If you want to get a lot of that history, we all fight and debate over what the first video game is, but there's a lot of ways you can define a video game, whether it be with a tube or with controls. There's just a lot of stuff. There's a really great video, The Entire History of Video Games. It's a 6-hour long video. If you're as nerdy as I am, check them out. The Strong Museum of Play is also a good history timeline of video games, as well as their book, The 64 Objects there. Check those out. Shout out to EverQuest. It was my awesome game that I played before World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft, so addicting, which we'll talk about. As we're wrapping up here in the next 20 minutes, there are different genres you also need to know between FPS, first-person shooter, fighting games. That community that really travels well in the esports space is the fighting game community. You've got sports simulation, which is the more common, oh, that's an esport, right? Because they're playing Madden, they're playing football. Well, then what about Rocket League? You're playing soccer with a car. Oh, wait, I guess a video game could be anything, like Candy Crush on my phone. That's why 3.1 billion gamers in the United States are gamers. Because they're probably playing Candy Crush, because the mobile gaming space is huge. Well, it also takes money to build a video game. Destiny, actually, in 2014, it cost $500 million to make that game, and thousands of dollars for mobile games. There is just a lot that goes into. Yes, that's right, Josh. World of Warcraft, sorry for the horde. Just gotta go. I'll play Alliance whenever I can. Video game revenue, if you look at this, really arcades. Hey, Kyle, thanks for coming to the chat. Arcades were huge. If you are 41, around my age, you are a millennial, you probably spent some time in an arcade when there were things like Mortal Kombat, which was a fun political debate, Street Fighter, other games, Pong, Skee Ball. We had definitely some fun back then in the arcades, and looks like Kyle says, my uncle bought me EverQuest one Christmas so I could play with him, but I was already deep into WoW. He asked me monthly if I installed it yet. I never did. Well, yeah, you should have done EverQuest first, but I understand. If you look at this game revenue, you then see how mobile is much larger there on the right, where that's where most of the gaming happens across the world. And the reason is because mobile gaming is accessible, especially for anywhere from third world countries to places with limited internet. Mobile gaming is accessible because a lot of people have cell phones, and PC as well as console get in there as well. But I mean, the cloud and VR stuff we're going to be talking about here later this series and the season, and the metaverse, it's going to be fun, and it is really changing rapidly right now with AI and ChatGPT and everything else happening in the space. But gaming really is a $1 billion industry, and we look at that because, like I said, the mobile games in part of it is, I said $1 billion, it's a $196 billion industry. That gaming is huge, 53% right there. And by 2025, $225 billion. And if you don't know, that is bigger than movie and music industry combined. That's right. I know you hear that data, you hear that stat. It's an important one, because how could gaming be much bigger? Well, when we talk about movies, look at all the movies that are actually based on video games. Kyle in the chat says, the new metaverse avatars, Zuckerberg showed me Evergo. I saw the Lenovo Go handheld the other day. Golly, that thing looks good. That's right. The metaverse, will definitely talk about that. But movies? Hey, 1993, I feel like, was the first movie I watched with the Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers, with Anthony Hopkins and John Leguizamo, and they did the Mario Brothers. And then just, of course, last year, the Mario Brothers with Chris Pratt came out, Jack Black as the villain in the movie. But I think, from what I understand, is Nintendo saw that Sonic was doing so well that why don't they make a video game? Even though, Sonic and the eyeball and the eyeballs and the graphics had to be redone because the community didn't think it was good. But look at all these movies that are made from video games. This is not even all of them. Music concerts, that actually that's moved. It's now Travis Scott, Marshmello, Ariana Grande in Fortnite. If you've heard about Fortnite, if maybe you haven't, but Fortnite is a very popular game the past 5 years. Got big in 2017, 18, 19 after Ninja, a very popular gamer, played with the Canadian rapper Drake. It got big, but they have these concerts. So it is a virtual world you're going into, and you're watching a concert with your friends. So instead of maybe going to watch a concert in person, you could do it online, which is definitely a possibility. Now, it's an inexpensive form of entertainment as well. If you look at gaming, 17 cents on average cost an hour compared to a movie. It costs you $14, $15, $20 to go watch a movie. Let's not consider popcorn and everything to go watch a movie, but it's cheaper because you can play it for longer, right? And there's a difference between SaaS subscription and gaming you buy, like you buy a CD case, or you buy the game like a Call of Duty. You pay an exorbitant amount of money, $70, to have fun with your friends that you don't get to see as much, but you did during COVID, and it was a great connecting tool because Call of Duty is great. But there's subscription-based games and free games, so it's a lot cheaper. If you look at it, entertainment is a better form of it. We talk about economic output. I mean, this is an older number, but it's gone up, especially during COVID. This was a lot higher. Now there's a little bit of a relaxation in the tech and gaming space for sure, with a lot of layoffs for the past few years. But the gaming space is still big. It's going to get big. It got bigger in COVID. It's going to grow and swell. There's going to be a winter for a while, and then we'll have another gold rush. That's exactly how it always works. Look at the salary ranges for gamers and esports players. I mean, the 60K there on the top left, that's just for their salary. Imagine their sponsorship is larger and their influencing power, just like a NFL athlete. If you haven't heard about Taylor Swift's boyfriend, Travis Kelce, here in Kansas City, if you're living under a rock, yeah, he's got a lot of sponsorship deals. My wife and I were driving past his house the other day, and he's got a par 3 golf course. I don't know why I'm going down this path, but a lot of us do. We're all obsessed with Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. Let's just be honest. But sponsorship deals, let's get back to the topic at hand. Sponsorship deals are there for these gamers, and they pick up on that. A lot of them start early with affiliate, and then they sign to a team. But team managers, game designers, editors, artists, it all takes people to put these games together. That's why it costs $500 million to create Destiny. There's a ton of careers as well. We look at this amazing graphic from Generation Esports, High School Esports League, and you've got all these different careers within esports, not just gaming, but in esports. The teacher, the educator, the social media coach, wellness coach, there's mental coaches in esports. I know that in Team Envy and Optic down in Dallas, they have a mental wellness coach that also works with them on fast twitch, muscle memory and clicking and everything else. Photographers, all this fun stuff, technicians, event directors. I also love this really amazing book I've got somewhere over here sitting on my desk. I can't see it right now. There it is. I've got a few books from Connor. We've got this 100 Jobs in Esports. Check that out, 100jobsinesports.com. If you'd like a signed copy of this book, I can get it for you. I've got a box full of them. But Connor, Coach Alney, you want to use code VEF and check out that link. I love this book because in the jobs of esports, I know Josh knows him. He built his arena for him down in Ottawa here in Kansas. It's fun because you can look at this job description like a live producer, and if you don't like it, you can say, okay, we'll go to page 82. It's just a fun book. He's got another fun book if you haven't checked that out, Gaming Callouts 101. Connor, thank you for so much you do. I'm super excited to work with you some more. And look at all these careers. This is a graphic that has a ton of careers. I showed you a smaller one. This is by Nico Bassomes in France, who does a ton of research. But that's just, I would say that's not even all the jobs. But there's a lot of careers. If you take esports out of the middle and you put NFL or you put NBA or whatever in the middle, a lot of the same jobs in esports. I was talking about this the other day to my wife because I was talking about how we were traveling, and I feel like as a gamer I can really read a map better. And this is not a sexist remark at all in the car driving, but she can show it to me and I can memorize it real quick and know where we're going because I need to focus on driving. But it's because I'm a gamer. Gamers of any age, race, creed, gender, we have the ability to do that. And that's why the FAA hired a bunch of gamers, which my friend works right next door at the FAA building here in Kansas City. And he's a huge gamer. He actually plays a lot of Call of Duty, and it helps watching the map and concentration. Why is esports big? We're getting there. Well, as Gary alluded to earlier, the Olympic Esports Week actually happened this year. We had a huge Olympic Esports Week. I was very impressed compared to what the Olympics did with esports a few years ago. And the Asian Games is doing a lot of stuff. Actually, the Asian Games have been doing stuff for quite some time. But the Olympics this year in Singapore, they had Fortnite, Rocket League, basketball, Street Fighter 6, Tic Tac, Bow, which was a archery contest, e-baseball, chess, cycling, Just Dance, Gran Turismo, sailing, and Taekwondo, and tennis. Now, Fortnite was not a battling one. It was a creative map. You had to take shots and jump through things. It was really cool. Rocket League, simple Rocket League. Basketball was a different game. Street Fighter was more of a kind of exhibition, and chess is just huge online. Just Dance was fun to watch those people compete with Just Dance, and the Gran Turismo with the driving. I mean, it's just great to see what's happening. If you want to check the closing ceremony out, it's pretty good. The guy, the announcer, is really fun and exciting person to watch. But Olympics and esports, and what are we going to see next time in 4 years? Well, we'd love to see a lot of the games that we actually play in esports. Fortnite, Rocket League is just really those two, the bigger ones. How do we get Valorant? How do we get these other large games into the Olympics? That's us being picky in the esports industry, as I alluded to earlier. Esports, though, is a $24 billion industry. There's a debate about it being either $1 billion or $24 billion. Well, it just depends on what you're really gathering. But you can check out their International Journal of Esports down at the bottom for why they have that number. But $24 billion, still, that's only a little bit. That's 13% of a $180 billion industry that's gaming. It's not as much as you think, but it is growing constantly. If we look at the timeline of esports history, we look at the first esports event, which was Intergalactic Space War Olympics back in 1972. It was an event that was held, I believe, at MIT and Stanford in 1972. And the prize, if you read here, was a year-long subscription to the Rolling Stones magazine. That's right. If you wanted to win something, you could win a Rolling Stones magazine. Now, later in the 80s, I believe there was like a Pac-Man contest with Pac-Man Fever and all that stuff that went on, and I think a Lamborghini or Corvette was the prize. There's different pricing around the esports now, because especially in 2019, we had a $3 million prize for Kyle Bubba Gaeddert, who won $3 million for playing Fortnite at the Fortnite World Cup in 19, which before COVID, it was going to explode the next year, but it just didn't. And you look at the Free Fire World Series 2021, it was 5.4 million. And that 5.4 million the viewers who watched, they actually had a big prize pool as well. And you look at the 2.3 million viewers for the Fortnite, there's just a lot of stuff. And I think I have this monthly activity and some other pricing I'll talk about here in a minute. But really, a lot of people viewing. 80.6 million active monthly players playing games. Mobile Legends is a huge game around the world. It's a play on League of Legends, but it's a mobile version because it's more accessible. CSGO is still big. Free Fire is like that version of Fortnite that's played in Asia, and Valorant is also really huge. Hey, but 28 billion hours of gaming was viewed in 2020. That's a lot on Twitch and other places like Facebook and YouTube. I always love using this graphic, and use this as firepower if you are talking to someone at a school or anything else to be able to get them interested. But this is kind of the society we live in of, hey, why are you playing video? Why are you watching this guy play a video game? And then dad goes back to the TV and watches sports ball. It's just a common thing. Now, before we get rolling any further, I'm going to drop in our ad about Neutrik. They are an amazing sponsor today, and I'm super excited to have them with us. But let's watch a real quick ad.
When it comes to esports, the Neutrik Group's robust locking connectors and cabling products will keep you in the game. There are many aspects that need to be considered when setting up a new esports venue in your facility, whether it's a basic room or an entire arena. Factors such as the type of space, the equipment to be installed and used, the furniture, the quality and speed of your internet connection, the maintenance and support of the venue, and the budget or funding. One of the most important things in any esports environment is connectivity. This is where the Neutrik Group may be of assistance.
Then back to our, thank you, Neutrik, back to our pricing we talked about. The International in 2019 had a $34.3 million prize pool. Now, a lot of that prize pool was actually created through online purchasing of in-game items like skins for your gun and whatnot, or your character. International is actually for a game called Dota 2, which is a version that gamers developed off of a game called Warcraft 3. Lots of fun history. If you want to nerd out with me sometime, I'm happy to do that. Now, the fun big parts. What about esports in schools? The stuff I get to focus on, the stuff that so many of us in the esports industry are so excited about to continue to grow. Well, almost 2,000 colleges have esport programs. And when I say that, there are different versions of that. There's about 400 to 600 that are recognized by, maybe recognized by their campus as some form of a club or a program that have a bit of support. Many of those are clubs. After that, after 400, 600. When we get down further, around 200 of those even have more scholarships. I'd say 50 to 100 right now are providing pretty substantial scholarships and tuition discounts. So esports is definitely picking up in the collegiate space. And I can be 100% honest with you, because I am at a lot of those events. I was in Boston last week where there were 32 colleges represented in the East participating and competing in the Collegiate Esports Commissioners Cup, which has a May event where 64 teams from all over North America come and play. It's a huge event and it's so much fun. But I remember 64 schools made it and there was 115 who wanted to get there and they couldn't because they didn't qualify and they got beat out. And these players, these gamers are good. They are high level. And what's funny about that is these collegiate esport athletes who some may not even be recognized by their school as a part of their school, or they can't represent their school because it's not a program, which is a common thing. They're also playing pro because the NCAA hasn't sanctioned esports officially as a thing, and as a thing to not play while you're playing another sport, I should say. Like, you can't be a football player and also go pro until NIL. There's a whole nother topic there, but yeah, the NCAA, NAIA, in Division II, they're all supporting esports, and it's great. And really, every year, and this number is old, it's going to get bigger. $25 million in scholarships go out every year, and this is that tuition discount. These are scholarship dollars based on what schools have to pay out and for their program and also for their grades. But sadly, about 5 to 8 million of those are going unused because there's not enough students in the pipeline in these schools across the country to be picked up, and recruiting is not easy either. There's a lot of opportunities to try and recruit, and there's a lot of Discord channels, and there's a lot of other things, but man, recruiting is tough. But really, there's over 5,000 high schools and middle schools in the United States that compete already. Out of the 35,000 high schools in the United States, 5,000 of those are competing. So what that means to you out there trying to get schools with esport labs, you've got 30,000 client possibility. You've got a lot of opportunity to be able to help someone. And I'd say only 500 of those probably have some version of a arena that is probably already a multi-purpose room. So there's opportunity to grow. Check out this fun stuff. Oh, I should add myself. I'm actually an author as well to the new streaming and shoutcasting gaming concept courses. Check those out at gamingconcepts.com. It is the world's first textbook for gaming and esports. It's been around since 2018 or so. Check out those books at gamingconcepts.com because these kind of groups, these kind of curriculum classes help with GPA and attendance, and it's exciting. There's a sense of belonging when students are participating. 82% of them say they never participate in any other extracurricular activities. And it supports STEM and STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, math. There's a ton of opportunity to grow, and there's a ton of benefits. Esports, digital literacy, digital citizenship, knowledge, problem solving, collaboration, teamwork, it's all there. But I also want to make sure I talk about these benefits, but I want to say there's also addictions and violence that we hear and we talk about. Well, addiction can be true. Really great organization, Game Quitters. Check them out. Intenta with their Game Quitters program. I took it. I took their 90-day fast from video games in 2021. I lost 40 pounds and I loved it. I have done 2 or 3 of those in the past as well. Done a 30-day to 90-day video game fast. And it's important for you as a parent, as a gamer, as a spouse, to know there can be addictions to video game, because it's recognized in the DMS book for an addiction, just like alcohol and other things. So it is there. Please check them out, gamequitters.com. But they have a question always with game screen time. Well, Oxford has actually studied this, and if you're looking for firepower to talk to a school or an organization, said, we don't want gaming to be involved because the kids just spend too much time on video games and it's not good for their brains and all this other stuff we've been hearing just as much as we've heard about television in the 50s and whatnot. That's all there. But screen time is, Oxford actually found there's no relationship between aggressive behavior in teenagers and the amount of time they play. The aggressive behavior toward others, it's not there. It's actually been studied, and the idea of what's been studied as well is the violence in video games. Well, violence is bad. It's happening in video games, and it's making our kids violent. Things are happening. Well, I'm here to tell you the American Psychological Association came back with the same study saying, hey, in 2015, we actually said that there's no correlation between that. It's just a lot of loud people saying loud things. Because we look at the games of violence and game purchasing going up, but crime rates going down. What's the connection? Violent gun deaths compared to video game revenue. Where's the connection? This is my only opinion, is this slide right here. If you want more information about this opinion, please go to vef.gg. You can also go to vef.gg/donate to donate, or type !VEF in the chat. There's online rating tools. You as a parent have the ability to keep your kids safe, just like you do with movies. And there's rating guides both in the United States and that is Europe on the right side of the PGI. We ask if esports is a sport. Well, sports requires you to move and there's rules and it's all skill involved. Well, you also move and you train just like you would for a real sport or a traditional sport. And lastly, as we wind up with health benefits, the benefits of play, fun facts from esports, the Entertainment Software Association, the benefits of play, joy, cognitive skills, problem solving, supports mental health is a huge deal, helping with moods, anxiety, loneliness, cognitive skills, mental health, strengthening the ability to learn, female gamers in gaming, STEM, a lot more careers available now because there's more females playing games, less likely to get bullied or becoming addicted to things because you are using you're using competencies that you wouldn't normally get if you weren't. And we tend to think of kids and seniors being okay to play video games because that's learning or that's helping with memory. But really, gamers my age also need it. It's good for your well-being. We've got cognitive benefits of video games. We've got increased gray matter. We've got memory improvement, helping you, speeding up your learning. There's also, I love this one because out of things like TV, social media, and regular computer use, video games, with a comparison to all those, actually showed, it was the only thing out of those that video games was the only one that showed no association with depression. Now, is there toxicity? Is there a thing that can, in the video games, that can cause issues? Yes, but the one-to-one, it's not associated. There's joy and connection in video games. Please donate. You can donate now at vef.gg/donate or type VEF !VEF in the chat. This was our first episode. Please go check out any of the stuff we have available. Check out the rAVe agency, rAVe pubs, Extron, Neutrik. We are super honored to be able to finish our first show and give you the information you need. Come back in 2 weeks where we're going to have a special guest and a special topic. We'll be promoting that and asking you to RSVP and share those shows with the people out in the world. And we want to make sure that you are prepared and you are educated when it comes to esports and gaming. Kevin Diltz, thank you so much for being here in the chat today from Extron. Appreciate you, sir. I love being able to talk about this stuff. We're going to have a great series with the rAVe Esports Show with me, Bubba Gaeddert. I appreciate you once again. Stay amazing. See you next time.
When it comes to esports, the Neutrik Group's robust locking connectors and cabling products will keep you in the game. There are many aspects that need to be considered when setting up a new esports venue in your facility, whether it's a basic room or an entire arena. Factors such as the type of space, the equipment to be installed and used, the furniture, the quality and speed of your internet connection, the maintenance and support of the venue, and the budget or funding. One of the most important things in any esports environment is connectivity. This is where the Neutrik Group may be of assistance.